Welcome to Crucial Dialogue, hosted by Reverend Roger Gambrell and Reverend Clinton Thomas, where we discuss pivotal and controversial issues for those that need nurturing and clarity in the faith. Converse with us. Ask any question you want. Meet us online and join the dialogue. This is Crucial Dialogue.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crucial Dialogue, where we discuss controversial and pivotal issues that need clarity in the faith. I am your co-host, Reverend Clinton Thomas. Is glad to be with you as always on Crucial Dialogue. I have with me tonight my partner in the ministry. As always, it's a pleasure to have right by my side Pastor Reverend Roger Gambrell. Pastor Gambrell, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm good, man. It's good to be on Crucial Dialogue.
We're glad to have you. And we have returning our special guest, Deacon Andy Jackson. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show with us. Deacon Jackson, how you doing?
Good. Had to take a week off and enjoy the Father's Day with the family, but I'm back.
Good.
Trying to get some Crucial Dialogue on.
Well, glad to have you back. And then we have as fun can get, a special person. We got Princess Firecracker Sherelle Ross, the professor. How you doing, Sister Ross? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here with you all.
Well, good. Short and sweet. We like that. Well, folks, we got an interesting topic on today. We're going to be discussing woke. Are you woke? WOKE. That's right. Woke. Are you woke? I didn't ask if you were awake. That's obvious if you're watching the show. But are you woke? And so, friends and family, I hope you can join in with the discussion. Remember, those of you in Facebook world and on the church website, you can send in your comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments. Remember, keep it clean. There's no need to be mean. Let's get started tonight talking about being woke. Pastor Gambrell, lead us off on this.
Well, this phrase Stay woke is really a phrase that's been used often for the last 100 years. It's been
Okay.
mainly connected to civil rights and racial issues. When we did some research, we saw this word used by Marcus Garvey, famous civil rights leader, when he talked about waking up but staying woke. He said it to the black community, and so
Uh huh.
that's one way of looking at what it means to be. Are you woke? Are you paying attention to what's going on? Do you know what's going on?
Wow, are you woke? All right, got a comment on the screen already. Hello to everyone. Hello back to you too, sister. All right, ladies first. Princess Firecracker. What are your ideas? What are your thoughts on this thing of being woke?
Okay, I have three comments.
Three.
Number
Okay.
one, woke can be in the sense of religion. People will say that Christianity is a white man's religion and that we're
Whoa.
all brainwashed. I've heard that before.
Okay.
Number two, woke could be, and this is just an example, but woke could be somebody telling me, oh, you drinking apple juice and you don't really know it's not made from real apples. You not woke. And the third thing is woke could be, as my shirt says, being in somebody's business. We don't need to do that. So
Okay. We need to come back to the apple juice comment. That was very interesting. Deacon Jackson, talk to us about being woke. Give us some insight on this thing about being woke.
Well, I think that we can look at it a few different ways, like Sister Sherelle brought up. But me personally, when I think about being woke, I think about a self acknowledgement of being asleep, because you are acknowledging that I am woke, which in vice versa, you're admitting that at some point you was asleep. So it depends on the situation and the subject that we talk about and bring up, as far as what you're being woke about. Like, she brought up the white man's religion, something that was, all of a sudden. I think that that's a misnomer, that they created it and they gave it to us, and as if Christianity wasn't around, years before America was actually discovered. So the fact that the school systems want to start history off at 1776, it kind of confuses people on what where Christianity comes from, and what tools was used to keep us in the stage of sleep, in order to do things that was necessary, according to their history, to give you this America that we live into today. So, to me, I would like to just expound on a lot of people can say I'm woke, but when you ask them the details of uh, uh, when they would sleep, and why they would sleep, uh, you get a little bit of a different picture of what woke means to them.
All right. Okay. Okay. Comments.
Well, mainly when I've been engaged with when I talk to people about what it means to be woke, it's been mainly based upon what Sherelle said about this idea, that the Christian faith um, has blinded black people, and that black people that are still in the faith are asleep, but black people that have left the faith or left the shackles of the faith are now woke. And so, but I loved Andy's clarity because it really gives more generalization, because you can see yourself many different ways that way. But that's the main discussion I've had with people, is what it means to be woke, because we have a strong influence of what I would what's titled as a Kemetic community, Egyptology, Moors, conscious community, bringing different philosophies to people that say that Christianity borrowed from these things, and if you in these things, you're asleep, you're ignorant, you're not woke.
Wow,
mm,
that's interesting. That's interesting. When I hear comments like people are thinking that I'm woke, so I'm no longer bound by the shackles of the white man's religion. It sounds like some people want to be morally irresponsible. Because if I understand it right, the relationship with God sets you free. It doesn't shackle anything. Now you might have to control your tongue and your behavior, but it's funny to me. I like what Andy said. Also, people say that they are woke and they're not following certain rules, and it just sounds like people just want to be reckless to me. Talking about you being woke, and then when you get into a further discussion with these same said people, and you start breaking things down, then when some clarity should be showing up, things start to get a little foggy, because I believe sometimes with these cliches and catchy phrases, I think people just repeat them because they hear other people say them. What do you think about that?
And also, this woke phrase is also used in areas where we talk about injustice, and you hear this from Black Lives Matter. You hear people talk about, "Are you woke? Are you paying attention to what's going on in society?" So the
Mm-hmm.
phrase is not always related to anything religious. It's sometimes related to areas of injustice, of things that we need to bring attention to, in the sense of, are you woke and paying attention to what's going on around you? So it's not always a
And
phrase that relates to the issues of maybe related to religion, but what's going on in our society? Are you awoke and aware of what's going on?
Ooh,
Okay.
that's
and
what
that's
I was
what's happening right now.
expand on as far as the in my generation when we sit down and talk about the woke culture. um, we think about how we used to do things when we was teenagers, and back then we thought it was keeping it real, being down, the cool things to do. And fast forward 20 years, we sit back and look back to how we was conditioned to believe that those things they mattered. Teasing people that were smart, trying to be the cool kid, or the athlete or the rapper, buying into the stereotypes that was on the backside being perpetuated to another group of people, as that's all they're worth, that's all they think about. So when you get older and you assimilate into the cultures of paying bills and living and taking care of your families, you sit back and look and say, you know um, man, I wasted a lot of time going after things that I thought would give me some kind of credibility or some kind of clout. But now looking back, it's like, man, we was duped, hoodwinked, like Malcolm X said. We fell for the
Bamboozled.
banana in the tailpipe, and now we look back and say, oh, we woke up. We can teach our kids it's a better way to do things. So it's not just on the spiritual level, like you said. Being woke is just a matter of understanding that there was a condition that was set up that didn't expect for me to make it past 18. And
Mm.
so because I made it past 18, it was some rewiring that I had to do to myself to continue to progress in this country. So I don't think just being woke is just a matter of understanding that white people use the Bible to continue to oppress, or America used it to keep a working class. It is within the black community. We was taught to do certain things or conditioned to do certain things, um, that as we got older, we had to realize that wasn't right.
Hmm.
Well, I got a
Okay.
question for y'all.
Okay.
So let me ask y'all this, as men. So recently, I know y'all know they just made Juneteenth a holiday,
Okay.
and everybody in the black community were excited about that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
reparations, yada yada yada. But hold on, they also are trying to pass a bill, if they did not already pass it, saying that you cannot talk about Black history in school. So that's something that I feel like we're asleep on. We happy we got this holiday. First of all, we didn't need it to be a holiday for it to be celebrated. Let's make that clear. because a lot of people didn't know about Juneteenth beforehand. That's us learning our own history. We need to be awake to our own history. Secondly, now it is a holiday, but you telling me we can't tell people why this is a holiday because we can't talk about it in school? So just tell the kids they off just because? How y'all feel about that? You let me know, because I got a problem with both races on that end.
Well, number one, I have to do some research on the bill because I'm not aware of the bill, so
Uh-huh.
I don't want to comment on it. I can say this much: in the state of Texas, historical curriculum is set forth by TEA, Texas Education Agency. But in the classroom, the teachers have the freedom to interject Black history into the curriculum. There are no rules that you cannot teach Black history. So I want to balance that with that. We have lots of African American teachers in the classroom that teach history. They have the freedom to interject Black history into the curriculum where it is there. And Black history is American history. So from that sense, I think even though you may say, well, they have a bill saying this, we need to get the details of the bill to see what is really there. But I would probably we probably need to get some more clarity. But like I was saying, in the state of Texas, people don't come into the classroom and tell teachers, especially the history classes, you can't teach this unless it's just overtly crazy. I've never seen a history teacher in Texas. I've been teaching Texas 25 years. I've taught 2 different school districts. Most teachers can teach and even interject into the history curriculum where there are holes in the curriculum that the district gives. So I want to answer that comment. So teachers do, and many teachers already do that. But we do need to stay woke in that. We do need to stay aware of what's going on with that, so we can speak to that and give conjecture to that. Because if we don't, things do happen, like you said. Bills get passed. We don't know what's going on.
So
Can I
my
give a
comment
definition
to
real quick?
go ahead.
Andy, I'm going to give a definition. I'll come back to you. I'm getting a definition from theconversation.com, I believe it is. One Urban Dictionary contributor defines woke as being aware of the truth behind things the man doesn't want you to know. Meanwhile, a concurrent definition signals a shift in meaning to the act of being very pretentious about how much you care about social issues. Let's deal with the A part of that, dealing with the fact that woke is being aware of the truth behind things the man doesn't want you to know. All right, let's deal
So
with
that
that.
goes into what you're saying with answering Sister Sherelle's question is that
Uh-huh.
we're in this space because of what we was taught in school.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what Pastor Gambrell just said is a part of the problem that the Black teachers have to interject inside of the textbook, because what happens when you're not African American? You just read the textbook, right? And if you don't have a
Good
student
point.
in class that, yeah, if you don't have an Andy in class saying, hold on, wait, what
Or
about
Sherelle.
this? And then if that teacher is tolerant enough to not look at me as a disruption and move me out of the class, you get into this space where at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, you have to be woken up. Our curriculum in school, and I grew up in the 80s, graduated in 2000, and it's funny that she says that they passed a bill that make you not want to teach Black history when they never taught Black history. That's not a part of the curriculum. You have to go into a special class to learn those things outside of your top 4: Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Barack Obama, Kumbaya. Everything is good. So as long as we don't be honest with our kids inside of those schools, that's where that first definition said is about what the man don't want you to know, because they said that
Uh-huh.
if you wanted to hide anything from a Black person, you put it in a book. Well,
Right.
we
Yep.
know that
Right.
they put them in. We know that they put it in books, but now they don't want you to read them books.
Ain't that something?
And
Well,
I will say this. there are lots of those arguments and those arguments are fair arguments, but we have more information today. It just takes
Uh-huh.
us work to do it for our kids. We know that there are lots of things and there's not enough time to teach African American history. There's so much of our history, the richness of our heritage, that
Well, I would say that
wouldn't be enough
African
time to
American
teach.
history is
I'm sorry.
African American history is. I say I would say that African American history is American history.
Of
And if you
course.
looked at it as American history, then we do have time, because if you're going to teach history, teach history. Don't
I'm
don't
not
don't
gonna lie, I
separate
gotta
it. That's the
disagree.
problem.
I
What do
gotta
you disagree
disagree
with?
because well, because I feel like, and this goes along with Christianity as well. When I was in high school, we spent weeks on Buddhism, Judaism, all these other religions, and we literally spent 1 hour on Christianity. And I had a problem with that. And I told my teacher, I said, no, you need to give me some more details. I'll bring my Bible tomorrow for you. And he, laughed it off, but he seen me as a disruption. And I'm like, well, I don't think it's fair because we're learning about all this other stuff. And that goes along with Black history. In my history class, we didn't really learn about Black history. It was, like you said, inserted. It was inserted in bits and pieces. So it's kind of like it got overlooked and it didn't really get explained. But we learned about the Indians and this tribe and these people and Europe and all that stuff, but not about people that look like me and talk like me. So that's where I'm like, I can't say we don't have time. Why isn't the time made for it?
And that's what I want to. I want to present this question based on the definition that I read. And Pastor Gambrell alluded to it. The fact that there's so much information available. What do we think about these things that the man doesn't want in an information age such as we live? What are your thoughts on the thing? Someone saying the things the man doesn't want us to know. How much of let's talk about our culture. How much is it that's out there that the man can't control us knowing, but we won't do the work to find out to know for ourselves? Where do we draw the line at what the man doesn't want us to know, and whether we become responsible for some type of self teaching, some self learning? I look at like say a kid wants to learn how to play tennis. They need a coach. They need a racket. They need a net. They need a tennis court. But a kid that wants to learn how to play basketball, he just needs something. All he needs is a basket. If it be a closed basket, he can teach himself. You know what I mean? So in one sense, yeah, you need some help. But in another sense, we don't need help. Well, I don't want to say we don't need help, but there are resources available for us to learn so-called these things that the man doesn't want us to know. What are your thoughts about, when are we going to stop saying what the man doesn't want us to know, and when are we going to pick up the book that Andy was talking about and do some knowing for ourselves?
Two things.
Uh,
Two things, real quickly. I'm sorry, brother Andy. I'm gonna get out your way real quick. Two things. Number one, we control the church community. Those are
Mm-hmm.
things we can interject into the church community because we have autonomy and control of that community. We have a
Right.
children's ministry and a youth ministry that we can get involved in and help the people that's in that ministry interject those things like Black history. We can interject things like reading. Those are things we can interject. That's one area. Second area is in our homes, we can teach these things.
Okay.
What goes on in our homes, we control.
Yeah.
Now, the third thing is we can get involved and become activists in the education realms, and we can get involved with our teachers and with our legislatures to bring that change. That change takes a little longer. That's why I made it the third reason. The first two are things we immediately control. But those are things that take our effort and our time and prioritizing and sitting with each other as a community and saying these are things we need to address with our children because these are areas of need in terms of understanding the contributions of Black people to science, the contributions of Black people to different areas in our world that we live in that would help our kids get a clear identity of themselves. They can believe that they can be more than basketball players, more
Right.
than entertainers. But that's something you and I do in our community, in our homes, to give our kids a different view of themselves. We got to stay woke on that.
All right,
Hmm.
Andy.
So the way that I would process that what you just said, Pastor Gambriel, is um, I like the fact that we're talking about being woke and the whole what's the man to answer Pastor Clint's question about what is it that the man is hiding from us or holding back from us. I think that um, I like to always use the saying that the system ain't broke, the system is perfected. It works exactly the way that it's supposed to work, or that it was designed to work, not supposed to work,
Okay,
designed to work. So,
okay,
so when Pastor Graham Burrell bring up, we own, we control the church, and we control the home, and so let's fix those two things. Well, we live in a country that has a democracy, and those people that put legislation and the city councils, those people are voted in by us, so we immediately like control that as well. But that's one of those things that that ninth grade civics class is not going to teach you how our system works. So therefore, we're going to go and look at the church and say, well, hey, these are some issues. Can we pray about it, or can we do something to help it? When realistically, there are issues that can be fixed in a snap of a finger by a politician, and we see that when we see legislation being passed to stop hate against Asians, or stop homosexuals from being attacked. Those kind of legislations come down overnight, or even the voting acts that's been rolled back over the last few months since the election. So it's things that the way the system works, we control, but we're not taught that way. And so, therefore, you begin to get woke at a later age when all of those things that Sherelle talked about is affecting my kids today. By the time that, my 4-year-old becomes 18, he needs to be reconditioned because of the school system that my tax pays, and the legislator or the city council that I voted for voted not to teach him history, and then put pressure on me in the household to recondition my child every day that they come home from school. That's a part of the system that we never talk about, because it's not easy to fix, because it takes a collective effort. But at
Hmm.
the same time, if we use the church and we use the home to get on one accord, then it's not as hard for them to pass certain laws to make sure that they don't teach about critical race theory, because they got the numbers on the student council that's going to pass it through. So I think that the wokeness of what we literally want to talk about is just how our system works. And if we understood, how our system worked, we would probably be more engaged, be more involved in school board, school election. But while we're in school, they're teaching us Christopher Columbus discovered America. George Washington, was couldn't tell a lie. Honest Abe, and we went down all of this history about why we are the greatest country in the world, but at the same time, how to actually acclimate ourselves into American society. It's not one class in high school that can teach you that.
hmm
That's
and
interesting.
let me say this real quick. Those of you that are out there in Facebook, YouTube world, we want to hear from you. Send your comments in. We want to know what you're thinking. What are your thoughts on this thing of being woke? We'd like to hear from you. Okay, just want
We
to
got
put
a
that
verse
out
on the
there.
screen. We
I
got a
see that. We
verse
got
on
a.
the.
Uh, someone sent in 1 John 4:4. It says, 1 John 4:4, ye are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Okay,
Mm,
that is a
good.
verse that was put up on the screen. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. We're talking about being woke, folks. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? I got another
I got.
definition that says, I'm gonna read this, and then when I stop, you go. Okay, Sherelle?
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait. Let me read this comment. It says, "Agree. I never felt like I missed out on learning about Christianity or Black culture. My parents always guided me in those areas. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Let me read this definition, and then Sherelle, you come right behind me. The Urban Dictionary, which published its definition 2 years ago, prior to the dictionary, defines it, meaning woke. Being woke means being aware, knowing what's going on in the community related to racism and social injustice. In other words, it means to be awake and sensitive to social issues such as racism. We getting some information about being woke. Come on, Sister Firecracker, what you got?
I was just gonna piggyback off of what PG and Deacon Andy said. When it comes to, you mentioned having our kids think that they're more than just basketball players. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's something when you said it starts at home, because a lot of these kids, their families, they really believe like their life depends on you making it to the NBA. So
Okay.
they do
Wow.
enough just to get by. I'm not saying they're not learning, but they're not retaining. See, we can teach all day long, but are we retaining the information? Well, the people that we're teaching, are they retaining it? That's what's most important. And then, Deacon Andy, you mentioned about voting. Our people don't vote. The presidential election is not the most important election. We got to start at the
Uh-oh.
bottom, local.
Come on.
You need to start at the local government. Every 2 years, people get mad at these laws and these bills that are being passed up at in Austin at the Capitol. But did y'all vote? Do y'all know what district y'all are in? Do you know who your senator is? Do you know who your representative is? Do you know who who the mayor is? Do y'all know these things? Because if you don't vote, you cannot get mad. Everybody's saying, well, when they vote for the president, they're complaining about all these different things, but you had all these other opportunities of people underneath him that you were supposed to vote for. Those are the people that speak for you, not this man way up here. These people all down here on these steps right here that you skipped over. That's the people who we need to look at too when it comes to voting. But we got to get our people to the polls. We got to do our research.
But that goes back to the education part. I mean, like we have so many issues in this country, and we make it so complicated, but we are the greatest country in the world because we have a democracy. We have where the majority of the people, if they want it done a certain kind of way, that's how it rolls. And if we taught that from kindergarten to 12th grade, then being, you're doing your civic duty would be second nature. But we have to go back to that woke thing. It's a culture of wanting a certain demographic of people to not participate, not be able to play on a fair playing field. And so as we continue to try to segregate our issues as in the African American community and say, well, if we just got our stuff together, then this stuff right here will fall in place. No, it's a system. We got to go. We have to play within the system. You know what I mean? It's not going to be where we can just pull out all our resources and do our own thing. It's not set up that way. So if you always have a pushback from somebody saying, oh, well, we really don't need to teach how bad it was in slavery because it makes it look like one group of people was better than the next. Well, yeah, sorry, you made the law that way. And if we understood that as a younger age, then me having a conversation with my 15-year-old that's about to start driving about the police wouldn't necessarily be there if we actually took the system that we had and held everybody accountable the way that we've been held accountable over the last 400 years. That's the problem, is that we try to separate the issues that have been created through the Black community because of the way the system has reacted to us versus approaching the system and saying, okay, this is where the problem starts.
But not only
Gambrell,
that, we got to also account for other things. People will make a sacrifice here because they got this powerful voice and they don't want to go against the masses. That's another issue, not just in our culture, but in Christianity too. People are afraid to speak out and talk about God in public because they don't want to be seen as against the masses. So that's another issue when it comes to just kind of adding to what you just said.
Okay, Gambrell, you wanted to say something,
Yeah.
and I'll
Well,
get
well
us back
my
on
question,
topic.
my question for Andy was this: you talked about this system. Um, what I'm curious about is who in the system. We know there's a system that has obstacles that's supposedly against our people. I don't think we disagree with that. That there is a system we struggle with, but from my 25 years of dealing with the school system, from my own experience, that system is not always the biggest problem. Um, we have so many of our parents and families that are not woke. They sleep.
Okay.
They sleep on responsibility. They sleep on a lot of things. It has nothing to do with someone else. I think one of the things I see in this country is we give too much power to people who really don't speak in our lives. We have a lot more power and a lot more authority in our lives than we let on. And I know we have these challenges, but I think it's very important that we teach our children that they live in a world where there are incredibly more opportunities than their grandparents had.
Right.
And for many of them, they're not taking advantage of them. So I do hear that we do have these systems and these challenges, but I want you to sit in my classroom for 2 weeks straight, and you'll realize most of these challenges are coming from people themselves. So,
Well,
you
I mean,
know,
I
yeah,
would try to, I mean, because I get what you're saying. You know that whole what person. You know, I never brought up a person. You know what I mean? I work for a company that requires for me to install a system so that if I'm not there, that operation works regardless. You see what I mean? And so, you know, we when I talk about a system, I'm talking about they're components that people have to play a role in. And I think the reason why this system that we're in continues to evolve and adapt from a slave culture to a more of a criminal culture, and now to more of a technological awareness type atmosphere. Like the system evolves because of complacency, because people sit back and say, well, yeah, you may have been discriminated against from not getting that job, but that was because that person was ignorant. Well, if the system don't check how many black people that they are required to hire and whether or not they really went through the application, and that person that holds that power decides to use it to just bring in people that look like them, then you can fire that person all you want, but it is just going to insert another person that may possibly do the same thing. So when I talk about a system, I talk about that we created in America a culture of systems that allow each other to checks and balances ourselves without using the rule of law equally. And so now you can say, well, it was that one person that discriminated against you, so that's not a culture of them. Or it was that one bad cop. You see what I mean? You know, you hear that again, that one bad apple, that one bad cop. Well, but if it's not any um, factors put into place to check that one bad cop, then that's a bad system. That's not a bad cop.
yeah,
All right. Let's.
I wouldn't
I
disagree on
want to
that.
kind of. I kind of want to. I want to go around the room. Whoa, whoa, whoa! I heard something controversial. Did I hear a disagreement?
No, I said I would agree.
Oh, I
I
thought you
didn't
said
disagree with that.
disagree.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
did.
All
I agree.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was getting
Oh,
crucial.
I was about to say though, it's about to be some rocks flying across this glass room. But anyway, check this out. So we're talking about being woke. So what? Let's help somebody that's listening out there, possibly on the church website, Facebook, YouTube. What are some areas? Now we've talked about Christianity. We've talked about racism. what are some other areas that we think that people need to be woke? What are some areas that you
Uh,
think that Pastor Gambrell, you
so I
alluded to the family. What are some other areas? Let's help somebody. That we're talking about being
so
woke. Okay, now let's talk about that. Go ahead, Andy.
one of the biggest things I think that we could do is be financially woke.
Okay,
Um,
there we go.
financially, we're conditioned to be consumers.
Okay.
We're conditioned to that we can't take it with us, so we might as well spend it. I think that if we use scripture, I think it's something in there says something about your kids.
Uh huh.
If we took that philosophy on wherever we at right now in our lives, as far as financial literacy, I would say that challenge yourself to become more woke in that area, because there's a
Hmm.
big difference between assets and liabilities. And uh, I would say that I didn't come from a poor area, but I am from the inner city, and I've been able to, or with God's will and God's blessings, lift my family out where my kids are seeing something different growing up. So the more we understand financial stability and financial literacy, um, you can be woke on a whole nother level. And I would challenge y'all to start with paying your tithes off the top. Wise man once said, when you give it away, you never look for it. So that's one thing that we struggle with, is trying to hold on to everything that we have or what we earn,
Hmm.
versus actually looking at the finances a little bit different, and trying to get to a place where you're comfortable, not trying to hold the bag. I guess that's the thing, what people say, or blow the bag.
All right, let me share two comments. I saw
Yeah.
one comment that said we're all trying to make it better for our children than our parents had it, and I see another comment that says sacrifice and long suffering are foreign concepts to this instant gratification culture. Wow, there's a crucial dialogue conversation right there. Come on, Pastor Gambriel, you had a thought.
I was gonna say, the Bible says this in Romans 13:11. If you can pull it up, brother Rashard, about this whole concept about staying woke. He says, in that knowing the time that now it's high time that you awake out of sleep.
Okay.
For now salvation is nearer than we believe. Well, Brother Andy talked about being financially woke. I'm talking about being woke and ready for Jesus.
Okay. Whoa.
Um, you you
Hello.
you can be woke historically. You can be woke culturally, but you can be sleep in terms of being prepared for Christ's coming. And Paul warns. He says you need to be awake for your salvation. When he says salvation here, he means the return of Christ is nearer than when you first believed. What he's saying is that time has passed and you have less time than what you had before. So we don't just want to be, we definitely want to be woke financially because we can be a blessing to our family. We can be a blessing to our grandchildren. Proverbs 13:22. That's a good point he made. We can be woke in other areas, but this is the most important area because we want people to be ready for Christ, because you might leave this world early or he might return. Either way, you want to be woke and ready. So I want to
All
throw that
right.
out there.
Hey, great dialogue, Sister Sherelle. Were you about to say something? What area
Yeah,
do people need to be need to be woke in? Come on, Sherelle.
mental health.
Okay.
All too often, Black people believe that we don't need therapy. We don't need to go to see a therapist because they're gonna be in our business. What
Hmm.
stays in this house, what goes on in this house, stays in this house. That's not right. It's too many kids that are suicidal. It's too many kids that are dealing with things that some of our parents dealt with when they were well into their 30s and 40s. Kids are going through a lot these days. There
Hmm.
has been so many school shootings. I think I seen on the news there's been 14 school shootings this year alone. That's
Wow.
a problem, and it's like if they can't talk to anybody or they feel like they're going to be judged by the way they feel, then they're not going to open up to you. So I think We need to be more accepting and more understanding when somebody says, "Hey, I'm not okay," and then we need to stop criticizing people. I don't
Good
know if
point.
y'all have experienced this, but if somebody lose a lot of weight, oh, they on that stuff. They gain a lot of weight. What you going through? It's never oh, you look good, or oh, hey, you want to talk. That goes along with mental health. So we got to stop criticizing people, because we never know what somebody is going through on the inside.
Okay, okay, I'll take that. I agree with Sherelle in saying that it's. I think in our culture we criticize and we use more negative language than we do loving language. For example, and you all have seen it, you all have heard it. We've all okay. I used to do it, but I try not to do it anymore. But you know, um, we use derogatory terms when we're referring to our people. And if we say that around our children, guess what they're going to think? They're going to
It's okay.
the children are going to believe exactly. They will not doubt what the parent says. So if the parent is using the N word about another black person, guess what the child is going to do? Now we need to be woke on how we handle our own people, and I'm not talking about the person down the street. I'm talking about the person in the house with us, because a lot of stuff starts at home. And I think as a culture, if we could stop, in our, I use the N word again. We got it in our songs. I was around some Hispanic men one day, and they were using the word, and it's just so pitiful how we've taken something that has always meant bad and we've tried to make it good. And Isaiah warns us about woe to the person that says evil is good and good is evil. So I think we need to watch. We need to watch how we talk. One version, when Paul talks about, one version says, let no corrupt communication come from your mouth. Well, another version says, let no foul communication proceed out of your mouth. And I think we need to be woke on how we speak into each other's lives. I think we could all do a lot better, especially concerning our children. I see a comment that says, yes, we need more uplifting, I guess, of each other. You know what I mean? We need to do those things. And so I think we need to I want to say wake up, but I got to keep using the word woke. We need to be woke when it comes to how we handle one another, especially in the body of Christ. We're taught that other men will know that we're disciples of Christ, how we love one another. But our words don't line up with the word, if I could say it like that. And so great comments from you all.
Let me throw you another
I
verse, man. I think. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was
Well,
gonna throw
I
another
was just
verse.
gonna kind of well, let's get the verse in first. Then.
Brother Bouchard, 1 Thessalonians 5, 5, 1, 1. I think it's one. It's like verse 5.
First
Because I want
Thessalonians.
1 Thessalonians 5. I think it's around verse 4 or 5. But the reason I want to put this passage out there is what we just talked about is really the assignment of the believers. Um, jump to verse 5, Brother Bouchard. He says right here, he says, you're children of the light. He says, and children of the day, we are not of the night of darkness. So that's the distinctiveness of the believer. Verse 6, distinctiveness of the believer. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. And what he's talking about is he's talking about our watchfulness in this world spiritually, but also our mental state. So it's so important that we emulate and model to people what it means to be awoke spiritually to what's going on in the world around us.
Okay.
Sister Sherelle talked about mental health. Those are issues that we're dealing with, but the Word of God deals with it. It's important that the believer be equipped to touch those issues. The reason those issues don't get touched is because believers are not equipped to the level to address it with people. Because the Bible says, weep with the one who weep and rejoice with the one who rejoice. That's a verse. That's a verse about mental health. So believers need to be woke in the scriptures. We're not woke enough in the word, equipped, reading, so we can help people. That's what we need to be woke. Because we got to understand our call in this world. We're light. That's what the Bible just said. We're children of the light. We bring understanding. We bring clarity to situations from what God shows us through the Holy Spirit. That's why it's very important that we're woke in these areas.
Amen. All right, we're gonna go
Well,
ahead
well,
and get ready to wrap
well,
this thing up. I'm gonna give let's
let
everybody
me get
get 30
one.
seconds. Go ahead, give us 30 seconds, Deacon
Okay.
Jackson.
Well, okay. I was just trying to really quick chime into the you brought up the N word and the language
Yeah.
and what Pastor Gabriel said just last. I just want us to be um open. Woke is another word to me as an open too. A lot of generational differences in our culture creates conflict that's not necessary. If you see a group of teenagers and they are using the N word amongst each other, when you approach them with that "don't y'all know better" type conversation, you finna lose a bunch of people. And so we got to make sure that if we're gonna be on level of trying to convert and be those vessels, that we gotta meet people where they at. A lot of what turns people away from the word and gospel is that frowning at you, waving your finger, telling you that you should have known better or do something better. When realistically, Jesus went in there and turned over the table. So he rolled with the people that's about that life too. So we got to be careful with the generational conversations and communications to determine if that's detrimental. Because it offends you don't necessarily mean it offended me and the person that I was talking to. So for somebody to interject that conversation of, oh, you should be better with how you talk to them or how you say things, you're gonna lose
That's
that
cultural
person that might
understanding.
just be open
Well,
to
well, let me say let me say this because you went way over 30 seconds. Let me say
Hmm.
this. Pastor Gambriel spoke about being equipped, okay, and that's where those things come into play. Yeah, no one. But the thing is, if something is wrong, it's got to be wrong. Period. It can't be. It can't be a thing where it doesn't offend me. So I don't know if it offends you. No, we gotta find right and wrong, and we got to do it based on what the scripture says. So I think we have to keep that in mind. All right, let's go, Sister Sherelle. 30 seconds, Sister Sherelle.
Well, I get a time limit. Okay, but no. First, I just want to say thank you to all educators, whether you teach kindergarten all the way up to college professors. Thank you. Um, as students, we spend most of our day with you guys. We don't, we spend 8 hours a day with you guys, whether it's online or it's in person. So,
Waking up.
to all educators, I appreciate you because you're what's teaching our kids, not the parents at home. They don't have time to teach. They get home from work, they got a routine: feed them, bathe them, put them to bed. So when we are in your classrooms or we're in your online Zoom sessions, we're learning from you. We're taking it all in. So please take your job seriously. If you're a teacher and you're just trying to get a check, you don't realize how many lives you're missing to impact. It's very important that you really, if you see a child that's coming to you trying to talk to you, please embrace that child. I have teachers from elementary school that I still talk to this day, and I love them to death. So all educators, I thank you, I appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing.
All right, Pastor Gamdrell, your last thoughts on being woke.
Um, just that we need to be woke in so many areas. We need to be woke in terms of our civic duty. Brother Andy talked about that. Woke financially. We need to be woke involved with what's going on with our kids. But I think the most important wokeness is we need to be woke to Christ. We need to be woke to
Amen.
our Christian responsibility because that responsibility is eternal. The Bible says in First John 2:17 that the world is passing away. So we can be woke in this world, but it's a world that's passing away, and we want to be equipped to bless people, but we got to be woke on a very important thing. So great discussion. I look forward to discussing this again at some point in the future. I don't think we're done.
We not.
Amen. Well, hey, team, glad to have you on tonight. Today, as we discuss being woke. And I hope and pray that we said something that has caused someone else to take a closer look at their own life as to how they conduct themselves and how it may affect the other people around them. Well, folks out there in Facebook and YouTube world, we hope you've enjoyed this Crucial Dialogue. We'll see you next time on the same Crucial channel at the same crucial time. Good night, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Make sure you never miss a show by joining us on Mondays at 6 p.m. by going to our website, powerhouseoflove.org, our YouTube and Facebook channel, or the Google and Apple Podcasts. Hope you tune in next time.